I'm excited about this project to be a part of big community of patient and young survivors and share my lived experience with them and exchange information. To me, this network is a really good way to connect people of different backgrounds and ethnicities that are cancer survivors that would be pretty isolated otherwise. In the last few days, there's been people from over 22 countries that have shared and learned and taught really good lessons, and we're looking forward to continue with the project.
Well, actually, it's the very, very first time where patient advocates are in the lead. This time we can define what we want to talk about, we can define how do we want to have the work done, and we can really push forward the agenda we are so passionate about.
I think it's very inspiring to meet all these people with all their stories about their experiences with childhood or adolescent cancer. I think what is really nice and important is that we are here as a community and as a voice in order to improve the quality of life of survivors. So yeah, I'm very happy to be part of that.
With this project, it is a great opportunity to get to know other patient advocates around Europe and to share experiences. And I think this was a great opportunity to strengthen our EU network of patient advocates.
I am leading one of the work packages in this project. It's about AYA, about adolescents and young adults. And I'm really happy to do this because AYA is considered special population and we really need to work on this because we want more for this category of people for AYA care.
I'm leading one of the work packages. We're going to organize visits in 3 countries, and we want to observe how adolescents and young adults are taken care in the hospital, because we know that in Europe, we don't have like special sections for this topic.
I'm especially excited about the peer visit project because we have an opportunity to set a golden standard and not only a minimal standard for AYA care and long-term follow-up for survivors across Europe and hopefully individually in each country.
Within the EU CASNet project, I'm assisting the Youth Cancer Europe team on the work package that focuses on adolescent and young adult care, as well as on the work package that works on equity, diversity, and inclusion. And I'm mainly doing the desktop research.
I'm leading the work package on equality, diversity, and inclusion. We focus on mapping populations that are underrepresented. For us, it's important that we hear from them. We ensure that the project is as inclusive as possible. We also focus on accessibility, so how accessible it is for the target audience. So that's what we do in a nutshell.
I'm involved in the creation of a new platform for the project to make sure that survivors across Europe have access to resources, community, and feel supported. And I'm also involved in creating new resources for equality, diversity, and inclusion. It's a topic I'm extremely passionate about as a gay, non-binary person. I think it's a new movement and something that Youth Cancer Europe, CCI, and the project are leading on.
I'm focusing on the transition from pediatric care to adult care. Many people, when they finish treatment, they don't have a clue where to go.
I'm leading the work on late effects and long-term follow-up care. These topics are very much combined because a lot of survivors experience late effects. Up to 3/4 of survivors do. So they need proper long-term follow-up care to be able to minimize the impact of the late effects on their daily life.
I'm passionate about this project because it's an opportunity for us to finally make a change in a system that is so desperately needed right now for us, for future patients, for future generations. The main topics I'm interested in are mental health support and research, because both of those are the main pillars of our future, in my opinion.
I'm leading one of the work packages, which is about the platform. We have a very nice community that you can join and interact with the survivors and the caregivers. Just if you press there, the community link. So go to the beatcancer.eu and you will have a lot of information waiting for you.
I am honored and so happy that I can be part of the management team that is coordinating this amazing, unique, and very novel project that we are having now across Europe for all these young people and their families who are affected by cancer in their childhood, in their adolescence, or during young adulthood. What makes this project so unique is that young people with lived experience are in the driving seat of every step that we are taking.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. We wanted to start with this video to showcase this beautiful project that we have, and we have an amazing surprise today. Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence. Stella Kyriakidis, the European Commissioner for Health and Food Safety, took time this afternoon to join us and to deliver the opening speech to this very first webinar on this amazing project that is supported by the EU. Welcome, Stella.
Good afternoon, everyone, dear friends. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It is an honor and a privilege to be part of this first webinar, and I will be saying a few opening remarks, but I will be staying in on mute to follow as much as possible. And I want to start by saying, first of all, hello to so many familiar faces that I have seen, and young people that have been with us from the beginning of the launch of the cancer plan. Anna was in Stockholm, Tim from Stand Up Against Cancer, Victor was at the lodge, and Katie. So you are all, I think, the people that have put a face to this problem. And I want to just start by saying that hearing your video now at the beginning, the feeling that I had was this amazing energy that came from everyone that spoke. And that energy comes from what I have believed in for very many years of my life. And for many of you, you may know that I live with a cancer experience myself from many years ago now. And I think your energy comes from what I felt when I started at the time on the road of what you mentioned of advocacy. And it comes from turning a personal experience into a political experience, into using a personal experience to bring about change. And this is what many of the young people said in the video. And I'm really thrilled to see that the work of the network has taken off so well. We know that there are issues, that there are challenges. We know that the challenges faced by young people going through cancer and their families are different. And we needed to do two things. First of all, we need to recognize them as being different. And we have done this through Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, where you know that this plan is the first time that Europe has such an ambitious plan for cancer with funding of over 4 billion euro. We have a Helping Children with Cancer initiative. We have the Childhood Cancers and in Adolescents and Young Adults initiative. And we're working really in order to strengthen our understanding of what we need to do for young people and children with cancer. And to also tell you that last week or 2 weeks ago now, I signed, I started the first global cooperation with a health task force between the European Union and the USA. And that comes to have a global cooperation for children and adolescents living with cancer. So we are joining forces from Europe to the US to look at specifically children and adolescents going through cancer. So the first thing is the importance of bringing this to shine a light on this, and we have done this through Europe's Beating Cancer Plan. But the second point, I think, is also in dealing with many of the issues that some of you mentioned across the member states, and looking at the inequalities, looking how this is not recognized in all member states. And for this reason, in February, we launched an inequalities register in order to see what is going on in different member states, in order to be able to bridge the gaps. I'm not going to go on talking. I want to listen to you today, but I will say one more thing. You bring a unique experience into this. a unique experience that comes from living with this disease. And you are the best voices and faces that you can make everyone listen. And we are here, we do listen. I want you to know that I am very aware how this diagnosis dramatically impacts on everyone's life, even more so, if I may dare say, on a child, an adolescent, and a young person's life who is getting ready to take off and spread their wings. And then a cancer diagnosis comes and it really takes you back into many ways. And you are making this into something positive for others. So please continue to share with us, continue your good work, and know that next Wednesday, and this is the last comment, we are launching for the first time an EU comprehensive approach on mental health. We are looking at this also for the mental health of those living through cancer. This is the first time that this is happening at the European level. And you know that in my team, who are in this call, in our team, in this commission, in this college, and in myself personally, you have a strong partner. And I will be with you in as many calls as I can, in as many events that I can attend, because you are those shining the light. And we're picking it up and helping you go forward. So thank you so much for this opportunity. And now I am in listening mode officially.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I think we will be listening to your speech on repeat. As you know, we are recording this webinar, and I think you said so many things that inspire all of us and will help us to go on even on those difficult days and press on with patient advocacy, because we know it makes a difference. And you are a wonderful example of that. And thank you so much for taking your time and giving from your heart all the encouragement that our community needs. And without further ado, then I think it's very important for me to bring into the conversation two people who will tell us a little bit more about this community that we're talking about. And I would like to invite Karina Schneider, Managing Director of Childhood Cancer International Europe, CCI Europe, as many of you would know. She's joining from Austria. And Šarūnas Narbutas, who is the co-founder and chairman of Youth Cancer Europe, and he is joining from Lithuania. And they will be speaking about what this new community is all about, the European Network of Youth Cancer Survivors. Over to you, Karina.
Thank you very much, Katie, for the warm welcome, and hello also from my side to everybody joining, and special hello to Stella, and thank you so much for being here and for your words, your empowering words, and most importantly for all your support that we can really, that we feel, that we see. Thank you so much for that. Yes, so I think, so you saw the video just before with many of our community speaking on what this project means to them. And so I do think when we decided to jointly apply for this project in 2021, we said we can only do this together as the big communities that we are having already in place in joining and gathering strong partners across Europe. And when we decided to apply for this project, the first thing that we did was put together a focus group discussion with 30 young people with lived experience of cancer to together brainstorm and identify the relevant topics that we should be addressing within this project. And yeah, so I think the name of the program, the name of the project is Program. So since the very beginning, patient advocates have been in the lead. They have been identifying the topics. They are leading on the research that we are conducting. They are leading on the policy initiatives that will come out of this project. And this is something very, very unique that we are very happy about to do. So what we identified as main topics that we would like to target in our project, next to building this community, this network of youth cancer survivors, were quality of life, including mental health, psychosocial care, education and career support, the transition from pediatric to adult health care, long-term follow-up care. And then one topic that still needs to be highlighted way more is the care of adolescent and young adult cancer patients and survivors. So we want to look into how can we make the care better for them. And then also very uniquely, what we are doing is to look into equality, diversity, and inclusion, looking into literature, gray literature that is out there, and come up with recommendations in this respect as well. And then the core, the heart piece of our project is the interactive platform that we have developed, that we will continue developing throughout the project. And we are super proud that we can already show you a lot about this. And with this, I hand over to Shagunas.
Hello, everyone, and hello, Commissioner. Thank you for being here in person, not via video message, so we can feel you. And we know it was a short notice, and we are super excited. And I think people from our community to also feel such a good vibes. And so I can speak and be a witness that it's not just the words that you say, but we feel it. We have felt the interest from the European Commission for this project, European Network of Youth Cancer Survivors. We see it not only from your colleagues in DG Sante, but also from DG RTD, as we had another workshop with them just last week, and a big number of participants here have also been present there. We're glad to see the turnover. We have a very nice number right now, 111 participants online. So we see that more people will be also joining over time, and someone will be also watching from us on Facebook. So this is exactly what we try to do, so that this is not just a one-off event that we go, but we are a community and we are able to stay in touch with each other. So while we are creating a lot of output through this project in terms of the recommendations that we believe that European Commission maybe take up and they'll work with us to implement at a national level, as Karina said, on a long-term follow-up care, on the transition of care, of the mental health, and various quality of life aspects. But while we are doing that, we also try to engage with our community. We all know that people who are here, that there is 500,000 people like us in the EU. So people aged 18, 39 who have been living with cancer. It is a very big number, but the problem is that we have no directory, no map to go and meet these people. And we know from our own experiences being a cancer survivors, and what Karina also mentioned, that all of the people in work packages in the project are cancer survivors. So we are the ones creating the project, how the community should look like, implementing it along our peers and listening to our peers. So the problem is that we often feel like we are missed out in the healthcare system, that from the moment we entered, maybe it was a pediatric setting, then we become adults and we reach in remission and we go and see our healthcare professionals at the time, and no one connects the dots, that we may have a cancer history in the past, that we may have comorbidities related to cancer. So that is why it is so difficult for us to connect, and that is why we are building the platform with very good name, beatcancer.eu. So I think in the best spirit of EU Beating Cancer Plan, we have the very good domain for that as well. So while I'm speaking, let me briefly share as well the link, my screen, to show you how it looks, just very briefly. If all of you who are listening to us either live or once you will see record, please do spend time to go to the beatcancer.eu, and you will end up in a nice page which has information that we create, asking from our community what is of interest to you. And we are keeping an up-to-date information right now. Here you see, anyone can see that this is a webinar ongoing. And we have collected the resources from our partner organizations. We already have over 100 of them. All of the resources that we connect here are in topics that we deal as a young cancer survivor. So it might be, as we see, the transition of care, it might be a quality of life issues, might be nutrition, and etc. You can see us here on social media, from Facebook to Instagram, and of course the YouTube videos in there. So of course I will not go through all of this. Everyone knows how to browse if you are here on the Zoom, so you know how to use the internet. But what is interesting is that here you can see also a collection of our past events as well as upcoming events. And so the material that we generate through the events, we're uploading it there as PDF files. So the ones that would know, like I heard the event is taking place, I couldn't attend, could I understand what was talked about? So then yes, you go there and you find it in our archive. And what is an interesting thing, this is what we call the main tool for our community, is the Discord. Discord is a software, but this is where anyone, even without being on Discord, can follow our conversations here. It is integrated already in our website. So you can see right now that we are discussing about the webinar and the link to the webinar on live. And now we also, at this stage, have an ambassadors. So all of us are in here are cancer survivors. You can see our diagnosis, locations, a bit of our life story. So to put a face that it's not, some weird project who not sure who is implementing it, to see that it is by the patients, for all of us to build this community. So give me a second just to switch screens. I will also show you a bit more into how our community, how the Discord looks. So that would be a place what you would be able to see as a registered user, not just on the outside. So for us, it is very important that you would just press the link on community to join us, because then you will end up in this space. So we already have, like, here are the users you could see. So if we scroll, so in between the different roles, we already have 190 people. Most of us in here are cancer survivors, and we've just started a couple of months ago. So here is the discussions which all of you can follow, which are public. We also have a way what we manage things per topic, and you are the ones to suggest us the topic. If you are now watching this for the first time, you think you have an idea or you want to speak with us about something, so please join the Discord. Say, I want to discuss specific issues. We will create a channel for you. You can ask us for that channel to be private, so only selected people would go in there and discuss. And as you see, we already have a big number of channels. So people in different countries are able to speak there, not just in English, in their own language. We also have our own internal workspace about the topics we discuss as a team. So there is a public and there is a private sections available for people that you say, okay, I don't want this to be a public knowledge. What is also interesting here, you don't even need to use your real name. If you want to be anonymous, this is why we also picked this platform. It is free for us to choose. You can use any pseudonym you want if you don't want to disclose your name, and everyone is fine with it. And what is easy to find here, so for instance, if you press on any person in here, you can see already what that person is coming from. Is a person role, a survivor? What is the location? In which types of a project they're involved, and what type of cancer they are living with. So, and this is available for all of the people, so we can have a bit of a matching. So you think you want to speak with a person with a similar diagnosis, want to identify people from a certain country, so you can do that. So with that, I stop sharing. That was a small teaser of what you can do, and we are asking you to connect with us, follow us on the website. Of course, social media channels are there at the same name. If you put the Beat Cancer, we have some background noise a bit, which is not from me this time. Let me mute. Yeah, I did mute the person. And we will promise you that within a month, it will grow. So already. We have 5,000 users, unique users going into our website. A month before, we had 2,500, so we are growing fast, and we rely on you to help us grow and scale and also share this message. So what we are discussing also on our Discord, it's not only for the cancer patients. So we are also there for carers. We are also there for healthcare professionals who are working in this area, because we see it as a niche. So it might be a nurse, oncopsychologist, healthcare professionals. We are eager to work with everyone because we can accommodate it so that the discussions don't interfere. So here I pause, I hand it back to Katie.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful, Sharunas and Karin. I really appreciate it. In case anyone is worried about GDPR, having shown so many private information, we just would like to say you disclose as much or as little as you would like. And if you have more questions about this, then please stay tuned, because one of the upcoming webinars is actually going to be about the platform for this project, and what is this platform all about, and what is our online community like, and what is our European Network of Youth Cancer Survivors drive on Discord like, and what you find there. And we will give you a tour, and you can give us suggestions and contribute to the work there. But as Sharuna said, that's a co-working space. So what's ahead for us still today? So we had a lovely opening words and inspiration and encouragement from Stella Kyriakides, European Commissioner. We also learned about where the European Network of Youth Cancer Survivors community is and where they meet at this moment. And we would also like to tell you a little bit more about the project of the EU CAIASNet, or the European Network of Youth Cancer Survivor EU funded project. We will quickly go through the survivorship themes that our project addresses. Obviously, we cannot address everything, but this community has identified some very important priorities that we will be looking at. And we will also be looking at what kind of data is this project generating. And when I'm saying this project is generating, then we're really talking about patient-led research. This is about evidence generation done by patients. So that's, again, very, very exciting. We will be talking about it shortly. And then we will be issuing an open invitation for more of you joining our ambassadorship program. And then we will close with questions and answers. So yes, there you go. That's the next slide. The topics that this project addresses are grouped in 3 big baskets: quality of life, adolescent and young adult cancer care, and equity, diversity, and inclusion. And you have heard about these today already. Under quality of life, there will be several subtopics, and we will show you what those are. Adolescent and young adult cancer care is a little bit different than just being treated at an adolescent age in pediatric, because we also include those who were diagnosed over the age of 18, but they are still young adults. So we will be talking a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people who joined the webinar today might be able to identify with that. They were not necessarily adolescents, they were young adults when they were diagnosed. And then we're also addressing equity, diversity, and inclusion, and what this project is delivering in these topics. So without further ado, I'm going to be, just a second, I'm going to be inviting Anna Zettel from the Medical University of Vienna from Austria, Jaap den Hartog from the Princess Maxima Center in the Netherlands, Anna Totsovina from Youth Cancer Europe in Romania, Elena Arsenie Constantinescu, also from Youth Cancer Europe in Romania, and Victor Gurbo from YC as well, from the Republic of Moldova. They are our next panel. But I was just reminded that before we launch the next panel, there will be a very, very quick questionnaire shared with everyone. Can we launch the survey? Because we would also like to know who is in the room today, who is on the webinar today. There you go. So if you could please answer, there are just 2 questions on the screen. Amazing. And while you do that, I would just like to say very quickly, we apologize that there was no sound with the video earlier on. I had no idea about it. We tested it twice before starting the webinar, and in both times it worked, and then it didn't work, and then that's why we chose a different method, and we thought it was going to work. We tested it, so we apologize about that, but the video is going to be available, and we're on 80%. Wonderful. And another just quick note, you will be hearing people talking about AYA care. That's why I left the abbreviation on the screen. That's adolescent and young adult care. So that's AYA, or equity, diversity, and inclusion. That would be EDI. You will hear people referring to that as well. We don't like these jargons, but they are being used. So you might as well tell you what they are. And quality of life is QOL, in case you hear people talking about it today. Okay. So let us know. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Now we know who are in the audience today. Cancer survivor, yes or no, and the age. Okay, very good. Lovely. Thank you so much for taking your time to answer us. I'm not able to. There you go. I was able to take care of it. Okay, so may I please invite then Anna to start with a few words about what the work that you're leading is covering in this project under quality of life.
Yes, thank you very much. So I will now quickly introduce you to the work package of quality of life, and first of all to the topic of mental health and psychosocial care. So mental health and psychosocial challenges are often underestimated and neglected parts of the survivorship in Kaya cancer survivors, and the quality of psychosocial care can vary considerably, not only between countries, but also within countries, depending on local hospitals. Therefore, in this work package, we want to raise awareness to the importance for mental health and psychosocial care in the survivor community, as well as also for healthcare professionals. We also want to better understand the current status and gaps and what is available and what is lacking in access to, in the provision of, and in the quality of psychosocial care across Europe. And we want to develop a standard of care for mental health and psychosocial care for young cancer survivors, driven by the patient perspective, and publish a position paper. Another important aspect of quality of life is education and career support, since cancer diagnosis at a young age has a disruptive impact on education and career pathways, both during but also after treatment. So to minimize this disruptive impact, we will collect relevant best practice and guidance materials. This will include, for example, school materials, programs, and toolkits with the focus on children, adolescents, and young adults affected by cancer, from diagnosis over treatment and up to reintegration into school or work. We also want to identify gaps in already existing programs and provide a manual or a toolkit for each of the topics, for example, school materials and career support programs based on best practice examples in multiple European languages. And in the end, based on the information collected, we will develop a series of recommendations as well as a train-the-trainer concept for healthcare professionals.
Thank you so much, Anna. So you mentioned, it's really good that you actually said all the words that children and adolescents and young adults with cancer. So that's Kaya, if our listeners are sometimes hearing that abbreviation. And you also mentioned the work package. So yes, the work in this European project is organized in work packages delivered by working groups. And work package 3 is all about quality of life or quality of survivorship. And you mentioned mental health, you mentioned education and career support. And there are 2 more topics, right? There's transition from pediatric to adult care, and there's another one on long-term follow-up. So I'm going to invite our next speaker to highlight the work that's going to be done in the transition from pediatric to adult care tasks.
Yes, my name is Jaap van Hartog and I'm from the Princess Maximus Center, and we lead on the work package 3.4 about transition. And we focus on two types of transition. First is the transition from child-centered to adult-oriented care, and the transition from follow-up care to long-term follow-up care. And our main deliverable is the transition guideline. You see this in the left corner. We do this in a regular scientific way, but we also add personal experiences to the guideline. We held virtual workshops to identify the needs and preferences of survivors and their parents. We have three peer visits organized. The first one was last week. We had a great time in Utrecht. In 3 weeks' time, we go to Barcelona, and then in the beginning of July, we go to Vienna, and there we will visit 3 centers which are best practices on this theme. So we observe a lot, and all this data will be analyzed and used to develop webinars, education webinar about transition, but also flow forth to the transition guideline. And this helps us to make a roadmap to implement the guideline, because a guideline without implementation is nothing. So we hope to implement this in as many countries as possible. And with that, we also write a white paper on transition. And we hope in all this work that we can help improve transitional care in Europe in as many places as possible.
Thank you so much, Jaap. And it's fair to say that it's good that you mentioned that there will be webinars about this, because I think it's important that we mention that to those people listening and viewing this webinar now. There will be ways for you to join this work later on by participating in upcoming webinars and meetings and have your voices be heard. So it's not just those young people who have helped to write the proposal, write the project, and are now helping to deliver it. We would really like to draw on a larger community. And if you stay tuned and look for information on our platform, and subscribe to the project platform on beatcancer.eu, you will be always notified when new content is being posted and when new results are going to be coming in. And Jaap, you will also be talking to us about the late effects and the long-term follow-up care work in this project, right?
Yeah, that's true, because the colleagues of Pancare couldn't make it, so they asked me to step in, and I'd love to do this. So first, work package 3.5 about late effects is quite similar as the one I told before. We've started by identifying the best practices and the lack of long-term follow-up care in Europe via a survey. Pancare will also organize several focus groups to identify needs and preferences of survivors regarding this specific kind of care. A focus group about communication recommendations for the healthcare professionals, and one about communication and full disclosure. We collaborate on the peer visits, so every 3 peer visits is organized by the Princess Maximus Center and Pancare as well. So this is just a joint effort. And the main deliverable of Pancare is the position paper on needs for long-term follow-up care, but also a roadmap and key recommendations which we'll share in the e-learning webinar about long-term follow-up care. And we will build upon previous projects like Pancare Follow-up and Pancare Surpass. And this will all be disclosed and shared on the platform beatcancer.eu. So it's a bit of a puzzle, but I hope you understand the important topics we are working on. And we hope that this project really shapes the future of survivorship care and transitional care in Europe. So thank you for your attention.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jaap. It is indeed a lot of work, a tremendous amount of work is going into these political recommendations, as we were encouraged by the commissioner to make sure that our advocacy is going to be fueled with the desire to change things on a political level for the future. So, and I see that you also included peer visits on your slide, Jaap. So in order to hear more about that, let's go to Ana Tsotsovina from Romania and Elena Arsenie Constantinescu, also from Romania, who are going to be telling us a little bit more about their focus on AYA care. But this team was also tasked with developing the concept for these peer visits. Maybe Can I ask you guys to join us and tell us more about it?
Yep. So hello, everyone. It is very nice to be here and to hear my colleagues. And also I saw some names of survivors and friends who already participated in our project. And I'm very happy to speak about this topic, about Aya Care, because I'm also in this group. I'm also an adolescent or a young adult. And it's very important for us not just to share our stories, but also to hear other survivor stories. For us, it's very important that we have the peer visits in Europe because we can see how Aya Care is implemented in other countries, in other European countries. And we really started this project not just to tick the tasks in the project, but also to meet other people and other adolescents. We started the activities in our work package with a training in Brussels. We had 64 participants. It was our first big activity. There we see what Aya Care means, how it is in Europe, and we set our goals for the following peer visits. Also, we discussed how we want to observe, what we want to observe in these peer visits. And then we had, of course, an ethic training about this because we need to be prepared when we go in peer visits. And it was, we were very enthusiastic about this because we choose 3 countries where to get to see, to observe better and to see what are the minimum standards that which a country should have for this category of adolescents and young adults. So I let my colleague Anna to tell you more about the peer visits that actually we started. We already had our first great peer visit from my point of view. It was lovely to meet new people, to hear stories, because besides of taking notes, there is a lot of impact, emotional impact, and I think it's great because the community is the word that can describe the best what we are doing here. So please, Anna.
Yes. Hi. Hello, everyone. As my colleague said, we already started our first peer visits. It was in Italy, Milan, and it's Istituti di Tumori. And we thank them for hosting us. We enjoy our time in the hospital, but also outside the hospital. The peer visits researcher observe what they already started to do for the youth patients and what project they are already in place are doing there. And we will still have 2 more peer visits, and we are very excited for them to see new practices in the other 2 countries, in Ghent, in Amsterdam. And after each peer visits, us, because me and Elena also are participants in these peer visits, even we are also organize them, we will complete a peer observation form. We reach to this peer observation form with our help from our team of researchers. They did the literature review and they help us with the questions. And at the end, we will generate a general report that it's going to be used for the specialist Aya units minimum standards. And we are very excited to do this because we are trying to identify gaps and good practices in the same time. And we are trying to, in our position paper, we are trying to have as minimum standards for all countries in Europe that can help the Aya patients to have a better quality of life during the treatment, but after the treatment also.
Thank you so much, Anna. As I said, lots of work going into all of this. Now we're going to move on to our next speaker, and he is Victor Gerber, also from Youth Cancer Europe. And Victor is going to tell us a little bit more about what work is going to go into the Equality, Diversity and Inclusion EDI work package of this project.
Indeed. Hi, everyone. Very nice to be here. Equality, diversity, and inclusion is an important aspect of EUCASNet. As part of the team, our objective is to strive for equitable access to cancer care for all young adults, irrespective of race, gender, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status. Of course, address disparities, encourage diversity and inclusivity. And as a result of our work, we want to come up with policy recommendations in this domain and present them in Brussels at a policy event, not only there, as well as come up with a toolkit and training modules for many stakeholders that includes patients, community organizations, healthcare professionals, researchers, educational institutions, and many other parties that are really interested in the EDI, right, equality, diversity, and inclusion in cancer care.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing to listen all of this, because we wanted to ask if actually I think there is like several recommendations going in for next February and World Cancer Day, to see what might be some important topics that will be addressed. But anyhow, going forward, I actually would like to ask maybe if the whole panel could join at the same time. So maybe if we could highlight Yike, Anna, Urszka, and Stuart all at once. So we could bring them in actually to explain about all of this research work. So we looked at the slides were very busy. We've seen that there are a lot of things referred to as literature review, mapping exercise, questionnaires, surveys, and data generation. So we wanted to have a little chat here with everyone and actually ask maybe in more detail about the kind of data that you are looking for. Maybe we will start with you, Yike. What Yike Wams is, sorry, I should be actually introducing you. You are from the Princess Maxima Center in the Netherlands. Our other panelists are Anna Mariutse from Youth Cancer Europe, Urszka Kosier, also from Youth Cancer Europe, and Stuart O'Callaghan, who is from Live Through This in the UK and is also from Youth Cancer Europe. So we have Netherlands, Romania, Slovenia, and the UK on the panel right now. So Yike, you first. What kind of data are you generating, and what kind of evidence are you looking for the advocacy work in Work Package 3?
Thank you, Katie, for the kind introduction. Well, we mainly focus on one specific part in the Work Package 3, quality of life. But in general, we are looking at all sorts of data. So we are mapping out existing materials, but we are also focusing on the scientific literature from databases that are specific to the topics of our interest. So for example, when developing the transition guideline, we use PubMed to evaluate all scientific articles that are valuable for developing evidence-based recommendations for the transition of child-centered to adult-oriented care.
Thank you so much. And so you're looking at recommendations, you're looking at literature, you're looking at practice. Anna, can I bring you in just to tell us a little bit about something different? So I know that the peer observation form was referred to a few times. How was a tool like that created in this project? I gather you also have done literature review. You have also looked at what's already available and what guidelines there are. How did that translate into a peer observation form?
So what we actually started with, we started with mapping how many countries actually in Europe address adolescents and young adults, the so-called AYA population, as a unique population of patients in their national cancer plans. Then we moved on to carry out research and literature reviews that focused on the needs of AYA patients and the services that are already available for AYA patients and survivors in Europe. And then all this research informed the development of the observation form that is currently being used while we are doing the peer visits in the 3 of the AYA clinics in Europe. So during the peer visits, what researchers do during the visit is that they observe and they also interview patients and healthcare professionals in order to better understand the needs of AYA patients and survivors. They identify how these services are implemented and how they can be further improved, and also how can we implement these services in other EU countries and centers across Europe. So all these activities will then assist at the very end in the development of a minimum of standards of care paper that will ensure that all AYA patients, irrespective of their location, socioeconomic status, or condition, receive a defined baseline level of care. And I would like to say that this work is really carried out by multiple people that consult and collaborate together. And it is work carried out by patients, patient advocates, survivors, healthcare professionals, and also policymakers. So it's really a big effort, and we all work together with the aim of creating a better future for AYA cancer patients and survivors in Europe.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, because I just wanted to ask again who are working together on all of this. We were listening to different speakers, refer to researchers, and it's lovely to know that there are many different kind of researchers, and there are many patients who are also working in these projects as researchers, right? And I think it's a nice segue actually to Urška as well, because I would like to mention that everyone in the previous panel were also patients themselves and have lived experience with cancer. And here to you as well, Anna, and you, Urška, and you, Stuart, as well. So maybe tell us a little bit about how you set out to work, Urška. I know that you are supporting the work in AYA Care, but you are also supporting the work in EDI in equity, diversity, and inclusion. So maybe just tell us a little bit about the research happening there.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And hi, everybody. I am feeling in this role where I really have a chance to lend some of my knowledge and expertise in research into several working streams that we have. And similarly to what has already been introduced today, we are relying on different sorts of methods to gather information and data that is already available. So from mapping exercises to literature reviews, looking at any academically published literature to inform us really. And in addition to that, then all of this literature work informs the development of surveys that we plan to circulate. So the methods are kind of uniform between different work streams, but in particularly when we speak about work package or the working stream of EDI, so equality, diversity, and inclusion, it's a very dynamic area that we're trying to improve on, relates to the minimum standards of care and other aspects of the AYA work. We are now trying to develop this survey that will be circulated across the population of patients and survivors, with the aim to try to hear from the populations that are normally underrepresented. So one of the big aspects of our work is that we're tapping into patient communities. We're doing research ourselves. We're both actively participating in the research and carrying it out ourselves so as to engage the diverse populations. And in fact, with that, I think how we plan to do this more, I can pass the word on to Stuart, who has a lot more experience of that, in that domain.
Yes, nice segue, exactly. I was just going to ask Stuart and bring you into the conversation to tell us a little bit more about your experience. So what we're trying to do is reach out to underrepresented populations in Europe, but you have done some of this work already in the UK. So maybe tell us a little bit about it and why is it so important?
I think the why it's important is a really good question that was kind of answered by Urška a minute ago, the fact that it should be seen as minimum standards of care. This idea that in the UK, we've started with this new concept of person-centered care, personalized care, but I like to extend that into what's more about a person than who they are. So beyond just the networks in their life at home, but also who they are as a person, their identity, and has the care system that they've been accessing or that's been built around them actually been supportive of who they are in that as well. So that might be things related to their ethnicity, it might be their religious practice, it might be their sexual orientation or gender identity. And this is something that I've been working really hard on in the UK. And even in that, we sometimes find our own barriers because the system is quite rigid. It's been built in a certain way for a long time. So sometimes when you come in with new concepts like EDI, you can find some resistance, but this is where data is super useful when having research. So being able to do research as part of this project that really does have co-production in it, which is fantastic, that spans all of Europe, that gets insight from the ground up from the patients and gets their view of EDI as well, is going to be so instrumental into making sure we can make strong recommendations that improve patient care.
Thank you so much, Stuart. And I really, really love the collaboration between all the work packages. So the work that's done on EDI in one working group really, really informs the surveys, the questionnaires, the way we address, the way we look for information in the other work stream regarding AYA care specifically and AYA clinics in Europe, and really informs also the work stream that is done in the quality of life work package, in work package 3 that Ike has been talking about. And I also know that the peer observation form that was developed in work package 4 is used in the peer visits in work package 3. The quality of life work package, where they are looking at long-term follow-up and transition from pediatric to adult care. So really lovely collaboration, and thank you so much for your insight on why we need to generate this data. So we have identified with this group and with this European project the things that are important to young people with cancer in Europe today. And we had the liberty to define the kind of things that we would like to look into and generate data on. So as I said in the beginning, so it would inform the policy recommendations that we're making. Very good. So thank you so much for the lovely input. And now I would like to invite our last panel of the day. And in one way, the most important people to this project, and they are the project ambassadors. So I would like to invite and ask if they could be highlighted on the panel. Zuzana Tomashikova from Childhood Cancer International Europe from Switzerland, Colette Ryan from UCAN Cancer Support Network in Ireland, and also YC, Youth Cancer Europe. Tim van Hoerenbeke from Kom op tegen Kanker, and YC from Belgium, Tiago Costa from Accreditar and CCI Europe from Portugal, Andrea Ruano from Youth Cancer Europe in Spain, and Erik Storesson from Youth Cancer Europe in Sweden. What an international panel. You guys are amazing. So, ambassadors to this project, right? Susanna, I would first like to ask you, you are one person who was there from the very beginning when we first had our two communities from Youth Cancer Europe and from CCIE, from Childhood Cancer International Europe, meet together, and we had a massive mural board just with all kinds of ideas thrown up on it. What is it like to see this project today?
Hi, thank you for the introduction, Katie. Well, I have to admit I was already amazed by the vibes we had during this brainstorming. As Karin already mentioned, there were many people from different countries around Europe, and I would really like to stress out it's not an EU or European Union network, it's really Europe-wide. And although we will have even more impact beyond Europe, and I am pretty sure about it. And what I would like to also mention or share, it's really it's great to see. I mean, we had this brainstorming. It's almost 2 years now in July. So since then, a lot of things were happening, and it's really just amazing to see that even though the community is ongoing, which is really great. And even though people who were not involved at the very beginning are jumping in and are really pushing our agenda forward. And it's, as already has been said, mainly the young people, but also many other stakeholders who do see our needs, who do see where we want to go and who are supportive. So I'm really happy to be part of this and looking forward for many other upcoming objectives within different working packages, and not to forget some events where we can meet, chat and celebrate the success we are getting with this network.
Thank you, Susanna. I think that you have highlighted something very important, actually. You mentioned that you see a lot of young people joining now who might not have been there in the very beginning. I think that's a very, very important point, because we would really like to celebrate this community and acknowledge that this project is supposed to be an ever-evolving project. So what we said from the very beginning, and I think I'm quoting from somebody, we do not want this project to become an elitist network. So we don't want anyone to feel left out. You want to be part of this network. You want to be heard. Please leave a comment in the chat, join on Discord and join this community, because there is place for you. Colette, I think this is actually a great moment to bring you in, because you actually were tasked with leading the writing of the terms of engagement for the ambassadors. So when we are inviting new people to join and we're saying, oh, we want you just be part of this group and become an ambassador, maybe you should tell us a little bit about what would be expected from ambassadors.
We were tasked with coming up with the terms of engagement. So we want the ambassadors to engage with the network and with their local and national communities, and in that to bring more members or more patients and those with lived experience to come to the network and be involved. In that we want the ambassadors to share through social media, through the network, through the Beat Cancer EU network, and yes, so far we have people from across Europe, and it's another ever-evolving part of the project.
Thank you so much. And I think I will bring in Tim and just mention that, as we said, that the ambassadorship is like a two-way street. We would like ambassadors of the project to talk about the project and take it to their communities. But Tim, when you joined the project, you were actually able to bring a lot to the table. You have some experience in your community at home, and we know some AYA communities, some AYA communities are more evolved than others across Europe. In fact, in some countries, there are no adolescent and young adult communities at all. So what is it that you were able to bring to the table?
Hi, everybody. So I mainly think of three things. First of all, you talk about me bringing things to the table, but I think the first and foremost important thing is that I can also learn from others. So we have a great community with a lot of patient advocates who have experience in advocating for AYAs across Europe. So I want to learn from them how they approach things, because what I learned was mostly by doing. So maybe they have a better method. Secondly, I would like to say that, of course, I bring my own experience to the table. As you mentioned, we have a big AYA community in Belgium, and we use them for advocating policy, or whether it be awareness spreading. And I would like to bring that experience that I have to the network, so I can learn from others, but maybe others can learn from me. And then the third thing is maybe if in another EU country or another European country, they would like to introduce, let's say, the right to be forgotten, which is already a standard in Belgium, I can guide them through the process, how we really started this and what steps we went through to accomplish this. So it's about learning and about experience sharing for me.
Thank you so much, Tim. And you mentioned the right to be forgotten. And I remember when we just caught up with Tiago not long ago, And I also know, because of your social media and because we follow each other's work, that now the right to be forgotten is actually a law in Portugal as well. It's not necessarily the topic of this project, but it's a great example of how you can learn, how you can benefit as a patient advocate from a European network. Was that like that for you, Tiago?
Yes, thank you very much, Katie. This is a great example of good practices and an ongoing European initiative for many patient advocates, because at the beginning, this topic of the financial discrimination against cancer survivors through the initiative of the Right to be Forgotten, it started in France in 2016. And this is a great example of how patient advocates and this great effort of the voice of these patient advocates by working together can lead to these initiatives to go to other countries. And now we have more 5 countries that have the Right to be Forgotten implemented after France in 2016. And now we can make some conclusions about what can we do more and learn about these European initiatives, not only to increase the patient activity, patient advocacy activities and awareness work, but also to make more cooperation and to increase the cooperation and dialogue between the patients and the policymakers. Also to take the advantage of the different resources that we already have available, for example, of resources not only from the legislation itself, but also from the patient organizations. For example, young patient organizations that have developed some interesting resources as well. And also we can give some kind of recommendations to the actual legislations, but or propose a new legislation based on the other ones that have already been implemented. And also, I think, to raise awareness for a new legislation that's like building a puzzle and putting all the pieces together to talking, for example, in this case, the discrimination of cancer survivors in accessing financial services across Europe, and that together we are stronger if we work together. And in this case, we can copy paste and we can lift all the best practices, all the good practices.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm really, really loving how you guys are already talking about patient advocacy. And this is so, right on with what the commissioner has started in the beginning, that, use all of this amazing energy. And as we have said in this project, we have all the components. We have the energy, we have the enthusiasm, we have the participants, we have the research, we are generating evidence, we're generating data, and we will be publishing all of these recommendations and guidelines and policy papers. But as you panelists are illustrating it, that patient advocacy really, really works. So copy paste, use the resources that we are already sharing on this platform, and use the resources that this project will be generating to change legislation in your home country. Wonderful, absolutely wonderful and great. And actually, I know that the Right to be Forgotten is also now considered in Spain. And our next person that I would like to highlight on this team is Andrea Ruano from Spain. And I would just like to say, does everyone appreciate the incredible art and the good vibes and the really, really cool graphic art that you see in this project? Well, it's Andrea, right? So
thank you.
What did you do where did it all come from?
Well, as a cancer survivor myself, I've always used art as a medium to express things that otherwise would be, pretty difficult to explain in words. The use of imagery, for me, it's always been easier. So when I was told about this project, I thought what's best than to use the experience and the knowledge the cancer survivors can provide, and the personality the cancer survivor can actually infuse to a project like this, because it's what's based on in cancer survivors, people with lived experience. And yeah, for me, the sketches are a way to represent all the things that we're doing, because I'm not a scientist. I don't do, you know, much politics. So for me, like my way to help the project, I think it's just be able to infuse it with interesting images and things that can, you know, stay in people's memories.
That's so sweet. That's so lovely. And I think it was so needed to mention it. You know, you don't need to be a researcher, you don't need to be a scientist, you don't need to be a politician. You can be you. You can be you, and you can contribute with wonderful you. And Eric, you also just, you know, happened on this project, and you're very inserted in this community. And I think, you know, you also are able to give your talent in a completely unexpected way. You're a gamer, right? You do spend a lot of time, and what do you do in the project right now?
So I'm mostly spending time in the community, trying to help to build it up, making sure that, you know, there's off-topic discussions and resources posted as well. We're talking about books and games and music and things, just to try, you know, to create a community that people feel like they want to be a part of.
That's so amazing. And I know that, you know, a lot of people might be affected by anxiety, depression, shyness, just, you know, maybe being a little bit worried about how they come across. But sometimes you can more effectively communicate just online. And Discord is great for that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's a great platform, and I'm really happy that we're able to use it in this way. Because it's usually used for games and more casual things. So to use it at this level for this purpose, it's absolutely amazing. And as you say, you know, we have special needs as a community, and providing resources, factual resources is important, but also having a community that is easily accessible, where you can engage with people from your community that have faced the same issues. It's important because they have a different understanding of your problems.
Yeah, and I didn't want to cut you off. I just wanted to show this slide because these are the beautiful, wonderful faces of those who so far have signed up for our ambassador program, and you can too. We will be sharing a QR code later on. So if you would like to be part of this community, then please let us know. And I would like to say a massive thank you to our last panel of ambassadors. And I would like to either open the floor for questions if there are any, or if not, and maybe at the same time actually bring in Karina and Sharunas for the last panel for closing words and to maybe address any questions that there might be. And I wonder if I can share this. Is it the right time for me to share this as well?
Okay.
Of course.
And we had a question actually in Q&A, and thank you for the daring person to put it, to Enrica de Piazza. Enrica was asking, how can someone become a patient advocate? And Susanna already gave a quite good answer in writing. So, I mean, the previous panel was the best to cover the topic, but as we are slowly walking them off stage, then we can try to speak on it ourselves. Again,
well, to be fair, every single person who was speaking today is a patient advocate. So we've had a pretty decent rollout of amazing patient advocates speaking today. But Sharunas, how did you become a patient advocate?
Yeah, so
short. You have to be short.
Yeah, when the word was being created, no. So I was 18 at the time, and I needed a medicine which was not available. So very shortly, when I got better, I created a big petition which was signed by 180,000 people at the time where no Facebook was available. It was back in 2007. It makes me feel an old man now being here. And yeah, that's what's got traction. It led to the policy change in the parliament, and that is essentially what brought me to understand that there are patient organizations out there, and that actually this ecosystem exists where someone is listening to the patient, that it is not just you are as a service receiver coming into the hospital or to the clinic, but that actually there is a whole movement how to empower the patients and carers, and there is a lot to share. So as one thing which is really rewarding for us to see, of course, in Europe's Beating Cancer Plan, that the patient advocates, not just cancer survivors, but the patient advocates, meaning the ones who are speaking not just for their own benefit, but on behalf of the community of other patients, knowing the problems, is very welcome on European stage, is very welcome by the Commission, very welcome by the experts. And as we referred to shortly with another meeting that happened last Friday with one of the directorates of European Commission, people there listening to the stories of many people who are here and was on stage, they were saying, we are not the experts themselves. I mean, the professors were saying, we are not the experts. You are the experts on the topic. Because this is what we would say as a patient advocate, as a patient, people with lived experience. We may not have the scientific knowledge, but we have a knowledge of what it means to live with cancer. So you become an expert of the issues you're dealing. And like Andrea nicely put it, you don't need to work with research or whatever to be able to contribute and speak on behalf of community. And as there are many roles in society, there are many roles in the patient advocacy. So now I see also that the chat in there on the Q&A is being supplemented by additional. Also, really thank you for asking these questions. Be mindful that there are many training programs for free in Europe, where many organizations try to build up capacity for the patient advocates, so you would understand what it is. So if you are into this, if you have that sort of mind, and it's not just policy that you should be thinking of, you may want to maybe help your other patient, have a peer support. You can be a patient advocate and have emotional or psychological support with some other patients. Karina is an expert on that, so I will give a segue, to Karina, what you may want on the chat on this.
No, I can just echo what you just said, and I think often, the first step is the hardest one. So should I speak up? Should I also, what Stella said in the beginning, the core of patient advocacy is turning a personal experience into political action. So I think if you have the feeling that you have so much to say, stemming from your personal experience, maybe seeing what your peers are experiencing also. If you see, hey, this is just not working as it is, and this needs to be changed, then just take the step and do, and be assured that there is a network that will support you and that will welcome your inputs and your willingness to help facilitate change.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry, should I put up Discord QR code again?
Yeah, please do.
Okay.
So why we were putting that nice slide for you, so in case you were very lazy, like some millennials are, we're not following of what we were talking. So we were saying just take your phone and scan the QR code, which will guide you to the Discord channel that you will be able to then join and follow this. And if you can't do that, so remember on beatcancer.eu, when you go in the community again, you see the Discord, you press on it, and you go into the community. So Katie, we're not seeing your screen.
Yeah, I know, because every time I share and I close it, I have a glitch. We tested it in the beginning, and every time
we see it
appears, yeah,
Katie,
and I have to open it again. Yeah. Yeah. So please take it from here. As soon as I put it on slideshow, then I have to close down my whole Google Drive and open it again for some weird reason. So that's that.
And in
And
terms,
then,
like, if we switch towards the closing words, I don't
but
want to jump the
Shagun,
gun. Yes, Karina, please.
there's two more questions in the Q&A section. Maybe we will just also reply to these. So Gael is asking if there's also the need in terms of patient advocacy who are not survivors but parents. And so here, I mean, absolutely, yes, and also siblings. So we are talking about the whole family or caretakers, partners, whoever has the feeling that they have something to say. We welcome everybody who wants to join and help us.
So yeah, one thing is be part of the network and have your voice heard. And also as ambassadors, yes, caretakers and others can also be ambassadors. But there are certain requirements. As I said, there's a terms of engagement. You can read about it. It's public. So there are certain things that we would like to ask from ambassadors. It's more than having your voice heard within the community, but being willing to actively contribute, to show up, to come to meetings, to come to trainings, and then take that training back home and speak about the results of this project at home. Let us know how you can reach your local community. So this is very, very important. We want to see a snowballing effect, if it makes sense for everyone. So snowballing, like you let the big snowball down from the mountain, and then it gathers momentum and it gathers more snow, so it grows. That's the snowballing effect. And then there was another question about the minimum age. That's 18, as Sharona said before.
Yeah, and let us a bit elaborate why it's that we are not creating something artificially, right? So in European Union, what is considered a young person, it is until 39. So 39, you are young. 40, well, you are
not so young anymore.
So this is why we take it from 18, which is legal age. Of course, we have some countries which might be later. It also has to do with GDPR, data protection, as what we are discussing is about health. This is why it's sensitive. We try to be on our side very cautious, but not very bureaucratic in terms of, no, let's not say this and that. And that's why we're using different tools like Miro, which is brainstorming on whiteboards whenever you wanted, separate Zoom meetings, and also separate channels in Discord to allow to have that comfortable communication. But it also doesn't mean, so what, if you are now 49 and you right now this year become ambassador, so what does it mean? That are you disqualified the next year? The answer is no, because look, we are creating a community of young cancer survivors, which is tailored towards this target age of 18 to 49. So currently it is the age which falls between the brackets. If you think on the cancer community, we have the pediatric setting, which is very clear from the moment you are born until you become an adult. And then we discussed in generic that there is a cancer patients. Most of this is tended towards an average or medium age of cancer, which is towards elderly. So these are, you know why you are here, you know why the topic resonates with you. So this is exactly that we are really focusing. We're not saying other issues are not important, but we're working on these issues related to the young people with cancer because, well, no one else is. We have to do it ourselves. And then to elaborate more on the question, when someone was saying, what Karina and Katie rightly said, we welcome everyone. So siblings, carers, but also a healthcare professional. So you may not be ambassador in the field, but you may have an interest to work on a certain topic. You may be working on a publication, but instead of just seeing it from the lens of desk research or something you see from analyzing the data, maybe it is better also for your professional careers to see it from the real people with real stories, to understand real passion, and then to see what can be done together. So it is very good to see that our community is growing, and they ask about Discord. So if you like what you see, if you are joining us, don't just stop there. Invite your friends, invite other people, because as we said in the beginning, we know from statistics, there are 500,000 people in Europe like us. And it is no way through any organization to reach like a big number of them. So it is just through this online presence and these meetings that we try to understand where the people are, what are the interests, and connect together, and then to see what we can do together. There's a lot of activity that we are planning in the project and that we are working on, but that does not mean that is it. Because if we have a passion from our community to work on other topics, we will find a way to make it happen.
Okay, thank you so much, Sharona. So there's an open invitation to everyone, and I think maybe just to mention it, because I see some of the comments in the chat. Even if you are from other organizations, so you've heard today, even the speakers themselves were from CCIE, from YC, from Princess Maxima, from PenCare, from Acreditar, from Live Through This, from UK Ireland, from a whole bunch of different organizations. If you are in a disease-specific organization, like melanoma, myeloma, liver cancers, pancreatic cancers, digestive cancers, breast cancers, doesn't matter. You can bring your knowledge to this network, because most likely on the meetings of those disease-specific organizations, many people are over 40. So they are older, maybe they got sick when they were already older. And maybe there are less young people. So if you want to reach other young people in this community, then we can learn from you and you can learn from us. But also some of the advocacy training or some of the advocacy points that are really led by and spearheaded by cross-tumor community in cancer, you can also take back to your tumor-specific organization. So don't be shy. Be part of this network and join. And Karina, before we close, I would just like to ask, what is it like for you? So you are the managing director of CCI Europe and the coordinator of this project. What do you say about our first webinar?
I think it was amazing. So no, it was. I mean, it will be up to the audience to say if it was amazing. But for me, as you know, having been there, as you have from the beginning, from the very first idea for this project to seeing how far we have come in not even 2 years. To having on stage in front of the curtain all those ambassadors and young people with lived experience and the colleagues from the institutions in our consortium is just amazing. And I really look forward to welcoming and seeing many of you who are listening today join our network and engage in our conversations, discussions, and to just together making some amazing change for our peers in Europe and beyond.
Very good. Yeah, those are amazing closing words. Yes, that's what we want. We want to make change. And as Sharona said, who is going to advocate for this group if not us? So adolescents and young adults with cancer are not currently described really in the cancer program, in the Beating Cancer Plan. They are just like youth, children, cancer survivor, youngsters, young people, but it's not clearly defined. So I think the commissioner is really thankful for us being very strong about it, because now she has something to build on and work with her team. And this is in DG Sante. And then DG RTD, that's another directorate in the commission focusing on research and innovation. They are also actively engaging now with this new network of European youth cancer survivors. So there's going to be a lot more talk about young people having cancer in Europe and their experience. And we will be generating some really important papers and publications that will move the needle and change things for young people in Europe in the future. All right, everybody, it is
on the clock.
On the clock. It's 5:30, it's 6:30 Central European time, and many people who have been joining from Eastern Europe, for them it's already 7:30. So it's time to stop and for people to have their supper. But you have all been amazing, so much engagement, and we still have 82 people with us. Is that correct? Whoop, whoop. Good audience. Amazing panelists. A big hand to everyone who has been speaking today. Thank you so much, Karina. Thank you, Sharona. Thank you, everyone, today. See you on the next webinar soon, and see you on Discord. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Goodbye.